In the heart of southern China, a dream was about to reshape the world's map of trade forever. 134 kilometers of raw earth, mountains, and rivers teeming, all standing between China. The Panama Canal, China's first river-to-sea canal since 1949, was not just infrastructure. It was history being rewritten. Every year, billions of yuan were lost, cargo forced to travel 560 unnecessary kilometers around China's eastern ports. Southwest China, Guangxi, Guizhou, Chongqing, landlocked giants, waiting for a direct door to the South China Sea. This canal would not just move cargo, it would move economies, connect nations, and ignite an entire region. The Beibu Gulf, China's gateway to Southeast Asia, was about to become the most powerful trade hub in the Western Land-Sea Corridor.
In 2022, the decision was made. $10.5 billion would be committed, and the ground would never be the same again.
August 2022, the first shovel broke the earth, and China's most dangerous mega-project officially began. What you are about to witness is not just construction, Jers. It is the remaking of a nation's destiny, one dangerous meter at a time. Before any machine could move, every centimeter of the 134-kilometer route had to be surveyed. Precision was everything. One miscalculation in elevation could cause catastrophic flooding or structural failure across the entire canal. Hundreds of survey teams were deployed simultaneously across all sections, a military-style operation just to read the land. Beneath the surface, geologists drilled deep to study rock composition coasts. The canal would need to cut through some of China's most geologically complex terrain. The 65-meter total elevation difference across the route demanded a master plan of locks, tunnels, and cuts never attempted at this scale in modern China. Soil borings revealed soft, waterlogged ground in critical sections that would demand extraordinary engineering solutions. In rocky highland sections, controlled demolition was the only way forward, blasting through ancient rock formations to carve the canal's path. The entire 134-kilometer alignment was physically staked out, hundreds of thousands of markers defining the exact edges of what would become a new sea route. Modern LiDAR drones mapped every mountain, valley, and riverbed, generating the most detailed terrain model ever built for a Chinese canal project. After months of relentless surveying, the final route was locked, and the most dangerous phase of the project was about to begin. The land clearing operation was unlike anything China had attempted in decades. Entire hillsides stripped clean in synchronized waves of machinery. Hundreds of villages lay directly in the canal's path. Tens of thousands of residents relocated to make way for the waterway that would change their region forever. Every demolition was planned with surgical precision. The excavated material would not be wasted but recycled to build the canal's own embankments. Cleared vegetation was burned on site in controlled fires, converting decades of growth into ash that would enrich the soil for ecological restoration later. Granite ridges up to 30 meters high blocked the path in multiple locations, each one requiring days of breaking, splitting, and removal. Section by section, kilometer by kilometer, the jungle surrendered to the machines. 339 million cubic meters of earth waiting to be moved. The scale of land clearing was so vast that environmental monitoring teams worked alongside every demolition crew, tracking ecological impact in real time. From the air, the cleared corridor stretched as far as the eye could see, a raw scar through the landscape that would soon carry the dreams of a nation. The excavation phase was the most raw and dangerous few. Standard excavators were pushed beyond their limits in rocky sections. Specialized 100-ton machines fitted with rock-cutting teeth worked around the clock. A fleet of hundreds of dump trucks ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, removing up to 1 million cubic meters of earth per week at peak excavation. At its deepest cuts, the canal trench reached 40 meters below the original ground surface. Workers at the bottom moving in the shadow of 8-story walls of earth. In low-lying sections near existing rivers, groundwater flooded excavations constantly, requiring round-the-clock dewatering just to keep the work advancing. There was no day or night on the Panama Canal. Construction ran continuously in 3 rotating shifts, the lights never going out for 4 years. Every deep cut required precision benching, terrace steps cut into hillsides to distribute load and prevent the slope failures that could bury machinery and workers alike. Slope failures were an ever-present danger. The ground itself sometimes refused to cooperate, collapsing without warning and burying hours of work in seconds. After every failure, geotechnical teams moved in immediately, analyzing the cause, redesigning the cut angle, ensuring the same mistake would never happen twice. Where mountain ridges were too large to cut through, tunnel boring machines were brought in, 12-meter diameter giants capable of carving through solid rock. The moment the TBM entered the mountain was one of the most dangerous of the entire project. Unknown geological conditions lay ahead in the darkness. Inside the tunnel, 300 workers operated in rotating teams, breathing filtered air, working in extreme heat, inching forward meter by dangerous meter. To meet the 2026 deadline, the entire 134-kilometer canal was divided into dozens of simultaneous work fronts.
Section by section, the main channel excavation was completed. The 315 million, 3 million cubic meters of earth moved.
The excavated channel was worthless without an impermeable lining. 134 kilometers of concrete had to be laid. The side slopes were the most treacherous work on the project. Men working at steep angles, one slip meaning a 15-meter slide into uncured concrete. The concrete demand was staggering. Dedicated batching plants built specifically for the project. Completed sections revealed the canal's true geometry. A perfectly engineered waterway, ruler straight, ready to carry the weight of a nation's commerce. In sections with particularly soft or permeable soils, geotextile membrane was laid beneath the concrete. Every meter of lining was tested before the next was laid. Ultrasonic probes detecting flaws invisible to the naked eye. Thermal expansion joints were critical. Concrete expands and contracts with temperature, and without these gaps, the entire lining would crack apart within years. The upper slope sections required specially configured pump trucks with extended booms, reaching areas no conventional placement method could access. From bare earth to finished waterway, each kilometer of completed canal represented the combined effort of thousands of workers. A completed channel section was not the end. It was a promise kept. A promise to the millions who would rely on this waterway for their economic future. The canal had to pass beneath dozens of major highways and railways, each crossing requiring a uniquely engineered bridge strong enough to carry thousands of tons of traffic. Twin bridge spans were the standard design, one for each direction of highway traffic, each span engineered to span the 80-meter canal width plus its protective buffer zones. Bridge deck pours could not be stopped midway. Each deck required a continuous pour lasting 12 to 18 hours, with crews working through the night without rest. Post-tension concrete technology gave each bridge the pre-stress it needed to carry highway loads without cracking. Ancient Roman arch principles reimagined in ultra-high-strength steel. Removing the falsework was a precise operation, each support cut in a specific sequence to allow the bridge to assume its designed load path without sudden shock. 710 major bridges were constructed along the canal corridor, each one a feat of engineering in its own right. While permanent bridges were being built, life had to go on. Temporary diversions kept roads open and communities connected throughout the construction period. No bridge was opened without a comprehensive inspection from every angle, including from below, where the hardest to spot defects in concrete construction often hide. The Madao Lock, the crown jewel of the Pinglu Canal project, would become the world's largest inland water-saving ship lock ever built by human hands. The lock chamber excavation alone required removing millions of cubic meters of rock from a pit the length of 3 football fields and 6 stories deep. The lock floor reinforcement alone consumed tens of thousands of tons of steel. Each bar placed, positioned. The lock floor concrete was mass concrete placement on a scale rarely attempted in China. Temperature control of the curing concrete was critical to prevent thermal cracking. Cooling pipes filled with chilled water were embedded inside every massive concrete pour, fighting the internal heat generated by cement hydration that could destroy the structure from within. The 30-meter lock walls were cast in continuous climbing lifts, hydraulic formwork systems climbing the wall automatically after each pour, eliminating crane lifts. The gate recesses had to be cast to within millimeter tolerance. The massive steel lock gates would need to seat. The Madao lock gates were among the largest ever fabricated in China, each miter gate weighing over 800 tons, requiring months of precision welding and machining. Transporting the completed lock gates to site was an operation in itself. Night convoys moving at walking pace through mountain passes, blocking entire roads for hours. The gate installation required a 1,200-ton floating crane, one of China's largest.
The final seating of the hinge pins was done by divers working in near-zero visibility.
The Madao Lock's genius was its water-saving chambers, massive side reservoirs that recapture 63% entry. The culvert network connecting the water-saving chambers stretched for over a kilometer beneath the lock complex. A hidden plumbing turds. While Madao dominated the headlines, the Kishi and Qingnian locks were being built simultaneously. 3 engineering giant clearance. The hydraulic operating systems for each gate required 500-ton capacity cylinders, engineered to open and close the gates smoothly.
Turbines. The lock control systems were state-of-the-art, fully automated, with manual override capability and redundant control.
The first filling test was the moment of truth. 4 years of engineering and construction judged in the... When the gates moved for the first time, every engineer present felt it. Years of work embodied in the...
3 locks, 3 engineering masterpieces, together managing a 65-meter change in elevation. Before a single commercial vessel would pass, every system was tested, retested, and signed off. The standard where the canal joined existing rivers, years of accumulated sediment had to be dredged, deepening natural channels to match the canal's 5-meter operational draft. Underwater inspection in river conditions was among the most dangerous work on the entire project. Divers working blind. Trailing suction dredgers were deployed for the wider, deeper river sections, vacuuming the riverbed to precision depths, monitored by GPS and acoustic depth sounders. The completed waterway needed a full navigation marking system before any ship could safely transit. Every bend where the canal joined existing rivers, bank erosion was a constant threat. Steel sheet pile walls driven deep into the riverbed to lock the... Where the canal joined existing rivers, bank erosion was a constant threat. Steel sheet pile walls driven deep into the riverbed to lock the banks in place permanently. Instance. Near the sea, tidal forces and wave energy required the heaviest armoring. Massive grouted stone protection, capable race. The moment the canal reached the sea was not celebrated with fanfare. The men who dug the last meter were the same men who started at Nan. When water first flowed from the Yu River all the way to the Beibu Gulf through the completed canal, 70 years of Chinese engineering ambition moved with it.
The canal alone was not enough. An entire new port infrastructure had to be built at both ends of the waterway to handle the cargo the canal would bring.
The approach channels to each lock required their own guide walls and signaling systems. Funnel-shaped structures designed. The control towers gave operators an unobstructed view of the entire lock complex, the nerve centers from which every gate movement. 134 kilometers of navigation lighting meant the canal could operate 24 hours a day. In all weather, an economic imperative. Safety infrastructure was built into every kilometer. Emergency stations, rescue boats, and response teams positioned to reach any incident on the canal within minutes.
Seizes. The Pinglu Canal would be one of China's most monitored waterways. Over 100 audited sensor stations.
A 134-kilometer service road was built simultaneously with the canal itself, providing permanent maintenance access to every... Environmental restoration was not an afterthought. As each section was completed, revegetation crews moved in, returning native ships. Before any vessel could enter the canal, every lockgate was subjected to the worst-case hydraulic load it might ever face. March 2026, the equipment commissioning stage began. For the first time, every system on the entire canal was visible and controllable from a single room in Nanning. The first vessel to enter the Madao lock was a test barge. A carefully controlled trial to verify that the lock operated. Every parameter of the lock cycle was measured. Fill time, turbulence, gate forces, water consumption, compared against the design specifications line by line. When the test barge cleared the downstream Madao lock gates, the engineering team knew the hardest part was done. The canal worked.
The full trial navigation covered 134 kilometers, 3 lock transits, and 18 hours. Operating a 5,000-ton vessel in a canal channel is fundamentally different from open water navigation. Night navigation trials were critical. The canal would operate and every lighting sound the clock.
Environmental commissioning ran parallel to engineering tests, monitoring the impact of the first water flows on surrounding wetlands, aquifers, and protected ecosystems. Post-trial analysis took weeks. Every data point from the navigation test reviewed, every deviation from design values investigated and resolved before commercial opening. Even after passing the main trial, hundreds of minor issues needed resolution, the snag list that separated a functional canal from a world-class infrastructure asset. Before opening, every emergency scenario was drilled. Vessel grounding, lock gate failure, crew overboard. The final government inspection brought officials from Beijing to walk every meter of the canal, the ultimate quality gate before the water. For the first time, the full 134-kilometer canal was alive with light, a new river of commerce. 134 kilometers, $10.5 billion, 339 million cubic meters of earth, 4 years of unbroken. The men who built this canal will not all be remembered by name, but every meter of concrete, every locked gate mentions. The first commercial vessel through the Madao Lock carried iron ore from Chongqing, Plumid, cargo that 560. Within the first week of operation, the canal processed more cargo than planners had projected for the first month. The demand had been waiting years for this route to open. At the Beibu Gulf, the Pinglu Canal's cargo arrived in Southeast Asia's trade lanes, the Western Land Sea New Fleet. For the engineers who built it, the greatest compliment was seeing ships move through the canal without drama. Engineering. From space, the Pinglu Canal is a straight line through the mountains of southern China Fies, but every millimeter of that line cost it. By 2027, the canal was already delivering its promised savings, 5.2 billion per year in logistics costs. The Pinglu Canal, China's most dangerous project, China's greatest waterway in 70 years.